Don Rickles finally speaks up about Lorne Greene. Donald J. Rickles was born on May 8, 1926, in New York City, Queens. He was raised in a middle-class Jewish family that loved to laugh and the arts. Rickles had an irresistible charm and a quick wit from a young age. These traits would eventually characterize his career. He was in the U.S. Navy during World War II, where his natural talent for making people laugh and his comedic instincts began to show. This was a sign of the great entertainer he would become. Rickles started his professional career after World War II, when he played in small clubs and lounges where he learned his skill by improvising every night and interacting with audiences without fear. He rapidly became known for a style of comedy that was very different from what was popular at the time. He didn't only make people laugh. He interacted with his audience personally, making fun of and teasing everybody he could see. This new kind of comedy, which is now sometimes called insult comedy, let him cross socio-economic lines and reach a wide range of followers. Some people may have thought his jokes were rude or even offensive, but they were always delivered with a smile and a twinkle in his eye. This showed that he was just as kind and generous off stage as he was on it. Rickles became famous in the 1960s, mostly because of his appearances on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, where his rapid comebacks and bold barbs at celebrities and audience members alike were legendary. He was notorious for going after everyone, from Hollywood stars to politicians to regular people. He never backed down from anyone, which only strengthened his reputation as fearless and real. As time went on, he made a lot of famous friends, such as Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and many of the Rat Pack members. They all liked how he could make people laugh without losing his edge. His associations with these famous people were not only personal, but they also formed part of his public image, which made him a permanent part of entertainment history. Rickles had a great career in movies and voice acting as well as on stage and TV. He was in movies like Kelly's Heroes 1970, where his funny timing made the war movie more fun, and Casino 1995, where his modest but memorable role showed how versatile he was. His voice work as Mr. Potato Head in the Toy Story movies is perhaps one of the most popular things he's done in the last few decades. A whole new generation of fans got to know and enjoy Rickles' wit through these movies. This shows that his comedic talent was not limited to one time or one medium. People who knew Don Rickles personally recognized that he was not only a great comedian but also a kind and generous person. People who knew him well knew him as a kind, humble, and devoted man who was always ready to help friends and coworkers. He won many awards during his career, such as a Primetime Emmy Award and a Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Comedy Awards. These awards showed how much he had changed the entertainment industry for the better. His impact on today's comedians is impossible to measure. Many comedians say that Rickles inspired them with his fearlessness, timing, and ability to make people laugh. Rickles had a huge impact on humor. He helped shape a generation of comedians who came after him, including legends like Jay Leno, David Letterman, and Joan Rivers. Many of them say he was a big influence on them. His style, which combined bold humor with a feeling of compassion, changed the way stand-up comedy is done. Rickles kept performing with vigor, wit, and passion even when he was older, reminding people of the power of laughter. Don Rickles married Barbara Rickles, a woman from Philadelphia, on March 14, 1965. She would be his longtime partner and support in both his personal and professional life. Rickles, who often played a loud, quick-witted character on stage and screen, was honest about how hard it was for him to handle love relationships in his 20s and 30s. Even if his career in humor and entertainment was becoming better, he had a hard time finding someone who really understood him outside of his public persona. Fate didn't step in until he was 38 years old. Barbara and he met through his agency, and they hit it off right away. Rickles was fascinated by her, especially because she didn't get or respond to his Hallmark comedy right away. This was a rare feature that both attracted and pulled him in. Barbara wasn't put off or scared by his funny approach, which helped their relationship grow naturally based on mutual respect, appreciation, and a strong emotional tie that went beyond the stage lights and TV cameras. Don and Barbara had 2 kids together, and both of them continued the family's creative history. Their daughter, Mindy Rickles, followed in her father's footsteps and became an actress. She loved performing and entertaining others. Their son, Larry Rickles, became a producer on his own, showing how much the family loves the arts. Sadly, Larry died of pneumonia at the young age of 41. This was a huge loss for Rickles and his family, and it showed how hard things were for him personally, even if he was quite successful in public. Don Rickles wrote about his family background in his memoir, showing a gentler, more personal side of himself that fans didn't see very often. He said that his grandkids, Ethan and Harrison Mann, were much more astonished and excited about his work as the voice of Mr. Potato Head in the Toy Story movies than they were about any of his famous TV or Vegas comedy shows. This discovery showed how humble Rickles was and how he could find satisfaction in the small personal things in life, like the love and admiration of the next generation of his family. Barbara was a constant presence in Don's life for more than 50 years. In a sad and somewhat poetic twist of fate, she died from non-Hodgkin lymphoma on March 14, 2021, exactly 56 years to the day after they got married. Their marriage, which lasted through the ups and downs of family life and a career in the harsh world of entertainment, was a tribute to true cooperation, loyalty, and love that never wavered. In many ways, the story of Don and Barbara Rickles is as lasting and moving as the humor and legacy that Don brought to people all over the world. It reminds us that behind the sharp wit and legendary roast comedy was a man who loved family, love, and the simple pleasures of life as much as the laughter he inspired. For years, admirers of both Don Rickles and Lorne Greene wanted to know what the famous trader of venom really thought of the elegant star of Bonanza. Rickles, who made a living making fun of everyone from Frank Sinatra to regular people in the audience, didn't say much about Greene, but when he did so with the trademark Rickles mix of love, contempt, and perfect timing. Lorne Greene. There was a person who strolled into a room and made you feel like you should have stood up and saluted. Rickles once made a joke about Greene, who was known as the rock-solid patriarch of television westerns. Rickles would say that Greene had such a strong presence that even he, a man who could trash the president without blinking, had to be careful what he said around him. Rickles went on to say, "I'd see him on the lot standing there with that deep voice and hair that never moved. I thought he used cement to keep it in place. There would just be Lorne Greene's hair and maybe Caesar's palace left if the world ended." Rickles made it apparent that he respected Greene's professionalism and discipline, even though he was making fun of him. He often said that Greene was always ready, never let his anger show, and was always nice to everyone, from major stars to studio janitors. Rickles said he was the kind of guy who made you want to fix your tie even if you weren't wearing one. Even though Rickles was a hyperactive insult comic and Greene was the noble father figure on Bonanza, the two men had a quiet respect for each other. Rickles said he was the kind of performer who could make reading a grocery list sound like the 10 Commandments. In the meantime, I'm over here yelling at them to make them laugh. We were a great match. He would often talk about how Greene pulled him aside after a show. Greene said in that calm, deep voice, "Don, you're a very funny man." "I almost passed out," Rickles remarked. "I thought he was going to instruct me to go chop wood on the Ponderosa." Rickles also liked to make fun of how serious Greene was. Lorne would gently bob his head as if he were thinking about the meaning of life if you gave him a joke. You couldn't tell if he was going to laugh or give a speech at the end. Rickles made fun of Greene, but he also made it clear that Greene had a warmth that wasn't always seen on television. He was always willing to help, gentle with younger actors, and someone that cast and crew members could trust right away. Rickles said the man had class, which he really liked. Not Hollywood class, but real class. Rickles' long-awaited statements, in the end, told us more about his own heart than anything else. He liked people with actual honesty, and Greene was one of them. He said, "I joke because I care about the guy. No one else could make me feel like the bad kid in school when I wasn't doing anything. That takes skill." Rickles then gave the most Rickles-style tribute possible, heartfelt, funny, and a little bit rebellious. Even the funniest person in the world has nothing but admiration for Lorne Greene's calm strength. On April 6, 2017, Don Rickles died at his home in Century City, Los Angeles, at the age of 90. He was one of the funniest and most loved comedians in the world. His death from kidney failure marked the end of an era, one defined by the reckless, fast-paced insult comedy that only Rickles could pull off. For decades, he was one of the few performers who could come into any room, whether it was a dark Las Vegas nightclub, a Hollywood roast, or a prime-time talk show, look a superstar directly in the eye, say something completely crazy, and leave not only forgiven, but loved. Fans, acquaintances, and other celebrities all sensed a very real change when he died. As if an essential spark of showbiz mischief had finally faded, the last moments of Rickles' life happened in the same place where he had spent most of his amazing career. Century City had been his home base for a long time. It was a quiet part of Los Angeles where he and his wife Barbara had lived together for decades. Rickles maintained involved with the world in his own way, even as health problems got worse. He tweeted, recorded voiceovers, and joked with friends who came to see him. But beneath that typical confidence was an elderly great whose body was finally starting to give out after a career of high-energy performances that required heart, stamina, and perfect timing. When he died, people from all around the entertainment world sent in tributes. Comedians who had spent years studying Rickles' style, his natural ability to read an audience, his quick comebacks, and his ability to make fun of someone while yet making them feel special offered touching stories. Actors talked about how it felt to be humiliated by Rickles. People who had never met him felt the loss too, since they remembered how much they laughed while he was on stage. Rickles was more than just a funny guy. He had been a cultural landmark, a living memory of the good old days of entertainment when comedy was loud, brazen, and completely unscripted. After he died, Rickles was buried at Mount C Memorial Park Cemetery, a peaceful Jewish cemetery in the Hollywood Hills that is the final resting place for many of Hollywood's most important people. The place was perfect, quiet, dignified, and full of the history of the industry he had helped shape. Family, close friends, and a small group of carefully chosen co-workers came together for the private event. They remembered not just the funny character Mr. Warmth, but also the kind, soft-spoken, and fiercely devoted man behind the jokes. Many people who went said that even though they were sad, there were times when they laughed because nothing felt more natural than telling anecdotes that reminded everyone of how funny and human Don Rickles had been. Rickles' legacy lives on in comedy. Even if he is no longer here, his timing, bravery, and refusal to play it safe are still examples for actors who want to be brave. The laughter he caused lives on in records, memories, and the many comedians who still call him a master of the craft. And at Mount C, where he lays under the California sky, his gravestone silently marks the end of a life full of vitality, keen humor, and a warmth that stayed long after the punchlines faded.